The morning of July 29, 2025, started like any other on the set of Today with Jenna Friends, with the bright lights of the NBC studio casting a warm glow over the cheerful set. Jenna Hager, the ever-charismatic host, welcomed country music superstar Blake Shelton to the show to discuss his latest album and tour plans. The audience, a mix of loyal fans and curious morning viewers, buzzed with excitement as Shelton, known for his quick wit and southern charm, took his seat. The conversation began with light-hearted banter, with Jenna playfully teasing Blake about his marriage to Gwen Stefani and their adorable public moments. Blake, sporting his trademark grin, leaned into the humor, sharing a funny anecdote about Gwen's cooking attempts that had the audience chuckling. But beneath the surface, there was a subtle tension in the air, as if both host and guest were testing the waters. The show's producers, always eager for viral moments, had encouraged Jenna to push the boundaries a bit, perhaps to get Blake to open up about more than just music. As the segment progressed, Jenna shifted gears, asking Blake about his thoughts on the current state of country music and its cultural impact. This seemingly innocent question sparked a flicker of unease in Blake's eyes, but he responded with his usual candor, praising the genre's authenticity while acknowledging its evolution. However, when Jenna pressed further, asking about the political undertones in some of his songs and the reputation of Southern culture in country music, the mood shifted dramatically. Blake's smile faded, and his tone grew sharp. "Are we talking music or taking jabs today?" he asked, his voice carrying an edge that caught Jenna off guard. The audience fell silent, sensing the brewing storm. Blake's response was not just defensive but pointed, accusing the show of boxing country music into stereotypes about boots, beer, and broken hearts. Jenna, visibly taken aback, tried to steer the conversation back to safer ground, but the damage was done. The exchange marked the beginning of what would become one of the most talked-about moments in morning television history, as Blake's frustration began to bubble over, setting the stage for an explosive confrontation that no one saw coming. As the tension mounted on the Today with Jenna Friends set, Blake Shelton's frustration became palpable. Jenna Hager, known for her ability to keep conversations light and engaging, seemed caught off balance by Blake's sharp retort. She attempted to defuse the situation with a laugh, saying, "Oh, Blake, we're just having a little fun here." But her words only seemed to fuel his irritation. Blake leaned forward in his chair, his eyes locked on Jenna, and said, "Yeah, I'll always want to put country in a box. You want the cliché till the copyright us, but not the truth." His voice was steady but firm, carrying the weight of years spent defending his craft against oversimplification. The audience, initially quiet, began to murmur, some nodding in agreement with Blake, others unsure where this was headed. Behind the scenes, producers scrambled to signal Jenna to pivot to a lighter topic, perhaps a question about Blake's upcoming tour or his time on The Voice. But Jenna, perhaps sensing an opportunity for a deeper discussion, doubled down. "We celebrate all voices here," she said, her tone now more serious. "But don't you think country music sometimes leans into those stereotypes itself?" The question, meant to provoke thought, instead struck a nerve. Blake's face tightened, and he shot back, "Then stop treating us like some hillbilly entertainment break." The words hung in the air, sharp and unapologetic. Jenna's smile faltered, and for a moment, the studio felt like a pressure cooker ready to burst. The crew, sensing the escalating tension, exchanged nervous glances, while the live audience held its breath, unsure whether to clap or stay silent. Blake's frustration wasn't just about the question, it was about years of feeling misunderstood by mainstream media, of having his music and culture reduced to caricatures. Jenna, trying to maintain control, responded, "This isn't a campaign stage, Blake." But her words only added fuel to the fire. "It's morning TV," Blake countered, his voice rising. "Maybe you should stop pretending to care about artists and just serve the coffee." The biting remark drew gasps from the audience, and Jenna's expression hardened, her arms crossing defensively. The clash was no longer just a debate, it was personal. The confrontation on Today with Jenna Friends took a dramatic turn as Blake Shelton's frustration reached its peak. Jenna Hager, now visibly exasperated, tried to maintain her composure as a seasoned host, but her patience was wearing thin. "We're here to give you a platform, not be insulted," she said, her voice steady but laced with indignation. The audience, caught in the crossfire of this unexpected showdown, shifted uncomfortably, some whispering to their neighbors, others filming the moment on their phones, sensing it would soon dominate social media. Blake, however, was undeterred. He leaned forward, his Oklahoma drawl thicker with emotion, and said, "You can keep your platform, sweetheart. I've got a stage of my own." The word sweetheart, though likely meant as a casual southernism, landed like a jab in the context of the heated exchange, and Jenna's eyes narrowed. The studio fell into a stunned silence, the kind that feels louder than any applause. Off-camera, producers were in a frenzy, signaling to cut to a commercial break, but the live broadcast meant there was no immediate escape. Blake, sensing the weight of his words, stood up abruptly, his chair scraping against the floor. "What's the point?" he muttered, loud enough for the mic to catch. "You all won't let me talk about the real stuff anyway." With that, he removed his earpiece, tossed it onto the desk, and walked off the set, leaving Jenna alone under the bright studio lights. The audience gasped, and Jenna, ever the professional, forced a tight smile, saying, "Well, folks, that's live TV for you." "We'll be right back." The cameras cut to a commercial, but the damage was done. The moment Blake stormed off, the internet erupted, with clips of the exchange spreading like wildfire across X, TikTok, and YouTube. Fans and critics alike began dissecting every word, some praising Blake for standing up for his beliefs, others slamming him for disrespecting Jenna. The clash had turned a routine morning show segment into a cultural flashpoint. In the aftermath of Blake Shelton's dramatic walk-off from Today with Jenna Friends, the media frenzy was immediate and relentless. News outlets, from tabloids to major networks, ran headlines ranging from Blake Shelton's explosive meltdown on live TV to country star stands up to morning show stereotyping. Social media platforms, particularly X, became battlegrounds for fans and detractors. Blake's supporters rallied behind him, arguing that he was justified in calling out what they saw as the media's dismissive attitude toward country music. "Blake spoke the truth," one user posted, garnering thousands of likes. "The media always mocks country culture while pretending to celebrate it." Meanwhile, critics accused Blake of overreacting and disrespecting Jenna, with some calling his sweetheart comment patronizing. "He could have made his point without storming off like a diva," another X-user wrote. Jenna's representatives quickly issued a statement emphasizing her commitment to respectful dialogue, even when guests choose otherwise, a subtle jab at Blake's behavior. The show itself addressed the incident the following day, with Jenna delivering a poised but brief comment, "We had a tough moment yesterday, but we moved forward with grace." Behind the scenes, however, sources reported that the show's producers were furious, and NBC quietly updated its guest policies, adding stricter protocols for live interviews, a move widely seen as a direct response to the clash. Blake, for his part, remained unapologetic. Hours after the incident, he posted a cryptic message on X, "Sometimes walking away says more than staying silent." The post fueled further debate, with his fans interpreting it as a bold stand for authenticity, while others saw it as a refusal to take accountability. The controversy also sparked broader conversations about the intersection of entertainment and politics, with some pundits arguing that Blake's outburst reflected deeper frustrations within the country music community about being misunderstood by urban elites. The fallout from Blake Shelton's walk-off continued to dominate headlines for days, with clips of the confrontation replayed endlessly on news shows and social media. Analysts on programs like CNN and Fox News weighed in, some framing the incident as a clash of culture as rural versus urban, country versus mainstream media. Blake's comments about country music being stereotyped resonated with many fans, particularly those who felt that the genre's values and traditions were often mocked or oversimplified by outlets like NBC. Blake was defending not just himself but an entire community, one country music blogger wrote, pointing to the long history of coastal media outlets portraying country artists as one-dimensional. Others, however, argued that Blake's reaction was disproportionate, and that Jenna's questions, while pointed, were fair game for a morning show aiming to engage a broad audience. The incident also reignited discussions about the role of politics in entertainment. Jenna's question about the political undertones in Blake's music had touched a nerve, as country music has increasingly become a lightning rod for debates about American identity, patriotism, and social issues. Some speculated that Blake's frustration stemmed from feeling pressured to address topics he'd rather avoid, especially on a platform known for its lighthearted tone. Meanwhile, Jenna Hager emerged as a polarizing figure in the aftermath. Her supporters praised her professionalism, noting how she maintained her composure despite Blake's sharp words. Critics, however, accused her of pushing a narrative that alienated Blake and, by extension, his fanbase. The incident also drew attention to the broader dynamics of morning television, where hosts are often tasked with balancing entertainment with probing questions, a tightrope that can lead to moments like this. For Blake, the walk-off became a defining moment, cementing his image as a no-nonsense artist unafraid to stand his ground, even at the cost of burning bridges with a major network. As the dust settled, the Blake Shelton walk-off incident took on a life of its own, becoming a case study in the power of live television and the unpredictability of celebrity interviews. The Today with Jenna Friends team moved quickly to distance itself from the controversy, announcing that Blake would not be invited back to the show, a decision that sparked its own wave of backlash from his fans. Boycott NBC became a trending hashtag on X, with thousands of users vowing to stop watching the network. Meanwhile, Blake's supporters organized online campaigns to boost his music streams and concert ticket sales, framing the incident as a stand against media elitism. On the flip side, some viewers felt that Blake's behavior was unprofessional and that he owed Jenna an apology. "You don't get to insult a host on live TV and walk off without consequences," one op-ed in the New York Times argued. The incident also prompted introspection within NBC, with reports suggesting that producers held emergency meetings to review how the situation escalated so quickly. Some insiders claim that Jenna had been encouraged to ask edgier questions to generate buzz, a strategy that clearly backfired. For Blake, the walk-off didn't seem to hurt his career. If anything, it galvanized his fanbase, with many praising his authenticity and willingness to speak his mind. His next concert, held just days after the incident, sold out in record time, and his latest single climbed the charts, fueled by the publicity. The controversy also sparked a broader conversation about how country artists are treated in mainstream media, with several of Blake's peers, including Jason Aldean and Miranda Lambert, publicly supporting him. Blake said what a lot of us are thinking, Aldean tweeted, adding fuel to the ongoing debate. The incident, while divisive, highlighted the cultural fault lines that continue to shape public discourse around music, media, and identity. The Blake Shelton walk-off also had a lasting impact on Today with Jenna Friends, raising questions about the show's approach to booking guests and handling sensitive topics. Jenna Hager, who had built a reputation as a relatable and warm host, faced scrutiny for her role in the clash. While her supporters argued that she was simply doing her job by asking thought-provoking questions, others felt she misjudged the tone of the interview, pushing Blake into a corner. The incident led to a temporary dip in the show's ratings, as some viewers, particularly in rural markets, tuned out in solidarity with Blake. NBC executives, wary of further backlash, reportedly instructed producers to avoid controversial topics in future interviews, a move that some critics saw as a step back from meaningful dialogue. For Blake, the incident became a rallying cry for his fans, who saw him as a defender of country music's integrity. His cryptic ex-post "sometimes walking away says more than staying silent" was printed on t-shirts and became a slogan for those who felt the media often misrepresents their values. The controversy also highlighted the challenges of live television, where unscripted moments can spiral into major news stories. Some media analysts pointed out that the incident was a symptom of broader tensions in the entertainment industry, where artists are increasingly expected to navigate complex social and political issues in public forums. Blake, known for keeping his personal politics private, seemed particularly frustrated by the expectation to weigh in on divisive topics during what he thought would be a promotional appearance. The walk-off also sparked discussions about gender dynamics, with some critics noting that Blake's use of sweetheart toward Jenna carried a condescending tone, intentional or not. These debates only added to the complexity of the incident, turning it into a multifaceted story that transcended a single TV moment. Months after the July 29, 2025, incident, the Blake Shelton walk-off remains a touchstone in discussions about authenticity, media representation, and the power of celebrity. For Blake, the moment was both a risk and a triumph. While he lost a platform on NBC, he gained even greater loyalty from his fanbase, who saw his actions as a bold stand against being pigeonholed. His career, already robust, continued to thrive, with his latest album topping the country charts and his tour dates selling out across the country. For Today with Jenna Friends, the incident was a learning experience, prompting a re-evaluation of how to balance entertainment with substantive conversation. Jenna Bush Hager, ever resilient, bounced back with a series of well-received interviews, though she avoided addressing the Blake incident directly in subsequent shows. The broader impact, however, was felt across the media landscape, as other morning shows and talk programs began to tread more carefully with high-profile guests. The clash also became a case study in media training programs, with experts citing it as an example of how quickly a live interview can go off the rails. For viewers, the incident was a reminder of the raw, unfiltered nature of live television, where real emotions can break through the polished veneer. Blake's walk-off, whether seen as a meltdown or a moment of courage, underscored the ongoing tension between artists and the media, particularly when it comes to representing marginalized or misunderstood communities. As the dust settled, the incident left a lasting legacy, not just for Blake and Jenna, but for the millions of viewers who witnessed a fleeting moment of raw honesty on morning TV, a moment that sparked a national conversation about authenticity, respect, and the fault lines that divide us.